ahead of the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series season, some changes have been made to the practice and qualifying format. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin as I get interference from my phone. Practice time will increase from 20 to 25 minutes. Now, instead of having 2 rounds of qualifying at every single track, qualifying will now be 1 round, except the super speedway races, which will continue to have 2 rounds of qualifying. Each starting position will be based solely on the qualifying results instead of lining them up based on qualifying groups, with some drivers who were quicker starting further back. As well, to break it all down, standard practice and qualifying procedures for flat tracks, mile, and halves, plus Pocono and Michigan as well. We'll see a 25-minute practice for groups 1 and 2, followed by a 1 lap and a single round of qualifying. Now, for short tracks, a 25-minute practice for both groups, then 1 round of qualifying, but drivers will get to run 2 laps. At road courses, 25 minutes of practice for each group, followed by a 20-minute group qualifying session, and the starting lineup will be set after 1 round of qualifying for each group. We'll also see an extended practice session for the Clash, Daytona 500, COTA, All-Star Race, Mexico City, Indianapolis, and the Phoenix Championship race. Now, minus the Daytona 500, there won't be any practice for the other super speedway races. Now, 1 qualifying lap, but 2 rounds of qualifying, with the top 10 advancing to the final round of the Busch Light Pole qualifying. However, something the teams and drivers asked for is finally happening. NASCAR has added a 50-minute morning practice session on the same day as the Daytona 500 single car qualifying. This is much needed, as we've seen some teams run into mechanical and electrical issues in the past that weren't diagnosed before they didn't have any more practice time as well. The photo courtesy there of Sean Gardner from Getty Images. Now, Matt is very confused to get all that in. What on earth happens, Josh? He's got a seasonal job at the North Pole. Yes, as well. I'm one of Santa's reindeer and elves this week. Hello, look, I've got a red nose and all, and rosy cheeks to come into it.
Ed, the elves were short. They needed some extra hands.
Yes, they did. Yeah. And if my niece and nephew are watching, look, I told you I was part of the magic. Hopefully they're in bed. Just realised the time. My goodness. Anyway, Matt. Then again, my niece does like waking up screaming for food, and she's only 1. So, was a simpler practice and qualifying format needed? And do you view a pre-Daytona 500 qualifying practice session as a huge positive? Personally, that was more confusing than what we had before.
Well, that was what I was going to say. Was if that wasn't confusing for people, then what was the old system? Because that sounded fairly confusing as you ran through it there to me. I don't feel like. I feel, especially IndyCar, I guess, with the Indy 500 qualifying, and it's more so in Formula One, qualifying is made to be a big deal or is more important than perhaps NASCAR is. They've floated or changed the ideas around multiple times over the last couple of years. We had that race at Atlanta, I want to say it was, a few years ago, where nobody made it to the line before, or was it Pocono? I can't remember now. Where someone will correct me, Matthew Owens, if you're watching, where nobody made it to the line and they were all knocked out. It could have been Fontana off the top of my head, which was just stupid. But they needed to do something, I guess. The whole of that, the good point of the whole of that stuff that you've just gone off, Josh, is that we get the practice session back at Daytona on the Saturday before the qualifying. That is, as you said, very, very important for everybody to get themselves shipshape, because it is the biggest race of the year. We don't want people falling out in qualifying and not being able to set a lap time, do a run. So that is very important. I don't get why we're having extra practice for the championship race at Phoenix. That seems very bizarre, unless they've got a stack of Goodyear tires at the end of the year that they need to burn through. Yeah, it seemed confusing in the way that it's probably written and read out, but may not be such confusion when we actually get cars on racetracks in February.
Yeah, some breaking news while we've been on an air as well. They've released a tentative weekend schedule for everything, including from the Clash all the way to Phoenix as well. Interesting with the Clash, which I suppose is the interesting we can tell you. On Saturday, you'd have Cup practice and the Cup heats, and then Sunday you'll have the qualifying and the race itself at Northwest Wilkesboro, where we Bowman Gray. Yeah. So the only ones, by the way, we've also released a schedule of how the stages are going to run. You can search this at Bob Popgrass on Twitter as well. He's put these out, but I'm going to read you out the races that we currently don't know the schedule for, and that is Circuit of the Americas, we don't know. Mexico, we don't know. Interesting, Chicago, we don't know. Of
this
course,
is stage length, is it?
Yes, this is stage length and distance as well. Talladega. The second Talladega race, that is also to be confirmed, coming into it as well. And this is in Cup as well. So, but for reference, the first Talladega would be 60 for stage 1 and 2 and 68 for stage 3. Xfinity, we don't know the stage length for COTA, Chicago, or the second Talladega. And in truck, we know them all bar Talladega as well. So that's a quite interesting one. And North Wilkesboro, for them, there will be 70, 70, and 110, make it up to 250.
While you've got that on your phone screen, Josh, what's the truck stage length for Lime Rock Park? Can you see that on there?
I can. Lime Rock is 35 for stage 1, 35 for stage 2, and 30 for stage 3, 100 in total.
Good. Yeah.
Anything else you want me to ask?
Hoping they weren't going to do 10, 45, and 20 or something silly, which would have made a bit of a mockery. But if they're all fairly stagnant, that's good.
Really interesting to note as well that we haven't got anything for. Really haven't actually got anything for. Well, I was going to say the Clash. There's no information for the Clash, and usually we did get that last year, didn't we? When we were in LA. So yeah, interesting. We will keep an eye cross on that, and there's nothing else coming in as well for ARCA. So I can't tell you anything on that. Sorry.